Welcome to this transit call where we're going to look at the artist archetype. This archetype is in transit from September 4th to September 9th. In human design, we call it the gate of confusion. This jinky goes from the shadow of confusion to the city of illumination, and the human pathway is imagination. That's what we're anchoring in for this archetype. And then in the I Ching, we call this hexagram before completion. As usual, our intention when we meet here is that sacred interplay between awareness and embodiment. So hopefully whatever you learn here, whatever you reflect on here with others, you can also go out in the world and actually embody more of your true self after these calls. So not mental masturbation only, but taking that awareness with us and also be able to live more true to who we are. Looking at the 64, it is in the head center, and the head is a pressure center. And we have only 3 gates. If you have an undefined ajna, you're also going to have an undefined head center. The other 2 gates are the 61 and 63, and they are all different circuitry. So the 61 is going to be individual, the 64 is going to be abstract, collective, and the 63 is going to be logical, collective. Looking at the whole channel, we have the channel of abstraction. This is the design of mental activity mixed with clarity. And the theme, if you have this whole channel, your mind can be very inspiring for others or very confusing for you. Use your mind to solve problems that do not directly involve you. We have the keywords for the artist: imagination, creative expression, and quantum leaps. Then we have for the alchemist, repression, karma, and surrender. Looking at the whole entire channel as a process, we have the combination of the different frequencies for both of the gates. So if you leave out this whole channel in a low frequency, it's going to be the combination of confusion and oppression, and that is the same as bewilderment. And if you have imagination and transmutation, that is the same as realization. And then if you have illumination and transfiguration, that's myth. I did mention abstract circuitry. So when we are in this channel here, it's connected to all the other channels that you see in black, collective circuitry, and it's the abstract or sensing circuit. These all have to do with sharing, but it's not as it is with the logical in pink here. It's not the pattern that makes sense, that is logical, that we can look at, make sense of, and then we can find a better way forward. No, here in the moment, we don't really make sense of it. We don't really understand. It might even seem chaotic, confusing. And it's not until we look back that we are able to see a pattern, that we're able to see what was really going on. So there's wisdom in the sensing circuit, and it's really all about time. It's not until we look back. So we could say that the understanding circuit, the logical, is looking forward to make a better pattern, which depends on what we have now. And the sensing circuit is looking back, making sense. And both of them are allowing us as humanity to walk forward in a way that is more constructive. And it has to do with sharing. We need to share about the pattern that didn't work. We need to share about the experience that was good or bad. It doesn't really matter because we can learn both from good or bad. So something that's important for all of the gates, everything that you see in the black, is that there is no success or failure. The success or the failure comes from how you interpret it. That's why we call, for example, the 46 the rainmaker, because when you're so in tune with life, wherever you are going to feel like you're in the right place in the right time. So we call the 46 succeeding where other people fail, or failing where other people succeed, because it depends in that moment how fully you're able to sense life and meet life. Here we're looking at the astrological way of looking at this archetype. So we are in the part of the wheel where we have Virgo, which is also connected to the 6th house in modern astrology. Virgo is mutable earth. It's the second time in the wheel. First time in the wheel is fixed earth. Second time is mutable. Third time is cardinal. Virgo is the independent priestess or priest. It could also be the green man or the green woman. We find service to spirit through the devotion to sacred work. And Virgo is the leaf that is always reaching for the light of spirit and doing the inner work that feeds the tree. We have the ruler of Virgo, which is Mercury. The second time in the wheel that we have Mercury as a ruler. The first time was in Gemini, the more outward going, the more masculine expression. And here we have more the feminine priestess expression. So a little less mental when we have the combination of the more airy Mercury with an earth sign of Virgo. Still being in astrology, if we are in Virgo in the 64, on the other side of that, we're going to have the 63 in Pisces. And both of them are head gates, as you can see here in the coding. The 64, confusion, imagination, illumination. The 63, doubt, inquiry, and truth. Also in the hexagram structure, you can see that wherever the 64 has a yin line, the 63 is going to have a yang line, and vice versa. If you have the 64 in your incarnation cross or activation sequence, you will also have the 63. The incarnation cross is made up of 2 different pairs of programming partners. And then same thing in your nodes. If you have the 64 on one or both sides, you're also going to have the 63. Looking at the quarters, human design again, this is the quarter of duality where the purpose is fulfilled through relationships. So Leo needs a stage and an audience. And then in Virgo, we need to have somebody to serve. We need to feel the purpose of that togetherness. In Libra, we need to have those long relationships where we really get to know the other, ourselves, create harmony. So business partnership or lifelong marriages or that kind of relationships. And then we have in Scorpio that merging that transcends even where I start and you end, and the limits between life and death can be erased so that something new can get born through that merging. And here's the last part. So we also look at the I Ching. When we are in the 64, we're going to be in the part of the wheel that has the water trigram on the bottom. And you can see that the I Ching is looking at those 64 hexagrams as 8 different elements. So we have water and wind, sky, lake, fire, thunder, earth, and mountain. And you can see that in each one of these, there's going to be one hexagram that is going to have 2 of the same. So mountain over mountain, water over water. And these are becoming the most archetypal of all the hexagrams. So in the water part of the wheel, the 29 is the one that has water over water. So we could say that is the overall archetype that speaks to us about what is the water element. And then, for example, when we are looking at fire, we're going to have the 30, which is fire over fire. And that takes us to where we are right now. So in this specific case, we're going to have fire and water. And that would be the same thing as saying that we have the energy of the 30, fire over fire, and the energy of water, and the 29, water over water. So we could say that the 64 is the combination of those 2 gene keys or hexagrams. And always we have the gift frequency, that is what we anchor in. So imagination is the lightness of commitment or in commitment. And then the shadow frequency would be confusion is desiring half-heartedness. And then the city of illumination is rapturous devotion. Let us look at this hexagram structure in a different way. So what we can see is that when we have fire, that is something that moves really quickly and that adheres to things. It's like it takes my hair and it's just everything will be fire. So that is the fire energy. And something that's very fast, if we're going to do the correspondence to astrology, is Gemini. Here we can see that the fire hexagram is connected to the 3rd sign, which is Gemini, which is the background. And then the bottom hexagram is what we're doing. Here we have the little guy, and we saw that was connected to water. And in astrology, we could say that water is connected to Scorpio. If we would look at this 64 in a different way, we could say the 64 is a combination of the archetypal energy of Scorpio and Gemini. That's a kind of interesting combination. I understand that can be confusing because it's not really 2 signs that go together. One is moving on the surface and the other one is deep, looking for purpose on the bottom. So that's also how you can see the backdrop in the yellow in the Gemini, and then the actual thing we're doing, the action, is the Scorpio on the front. So let's go a little bit deeper. Looking at this one, the verb is discover. And then, as with the I Ching, we have secrets inside if we know how to interpret it. So if we're not looking at the bottom and the top, we can see that there are two hidden hexagrams. So in this one, the hidden trigrams are the same as the ones that we have in the actual hexagram. So if we take this off, then we're going to have fire. If we take this off, then we're going to have water. So we have the same, and that's also what you can see with the color coding here, which what's on the inside. So then we're looking at the inner hexagrams as a secret recommendation. So here the braid in English becomes, we're going to discover in gate 64 in order to realize, because that's the opposite of confusion, right? We're realizing. And then what is the recommendation? It is to observe the essential. So instead of looking at all the different things, we are just coming back to the essential. That's a good recommendation for this week for all of us. So we're still in the last line of the 40, which is the gate of exhaustion. And we're going into the gate of confusion. So these can sound a little bit heavy. And at the same time, in Virgo, there is so much potential for healing. It's mutable earth. So when we can see the movement in these and we can hold them more lightly, that's when we can really tap into the Virgo energy. With all the earth signs, I feel that it's easy to go to the more masculine way of Virgo that wants to be organized, that wants to have all the details, that wants to sometimes be in control of things. And then Capricorn, similar with all the structures and the results, and then the stubbornness and fixedness of Taurus. So I would invite us to bring in that dance between the masculine and the feminine in all of the earth signs. And unfortunately, it is the feminine that has been more repressed. So as we're coming back into deeper embodiment with these signs, it's usually the feminine that needs to be added in order to find a balance.